Then verily did I first see Tyro, sprung of a noble sire, who said that she was the child of noble Salmoneus, and declared herself the wife of Cretheus, son of Aeolus. She loved a river, the divine Enipeus, far the fairest of the floods that ran upon the earth, and she would resort to the fair streams of Enipeus. And it came to pass that the girdler of the world, the earth-shaker, put on the shape of the god, and lay by the lady at the mouths of the whirling stream. Then the dark waves stood around them like a hillside bode, and hid the god and the mortal woman. And he undid her maiden girdle, and shed a slumber over her. Now when the god had done the work of love, he clasped her hand and spake and hailed her. Woman, be glad in our love, and when the year comes round that thou shalt give birth to glorious children, for not weak are the embraces of the gods. And do thou keep and cherish them. And now go home and hold thy peace, and tell it not. But behold, I am Poseidon, shaker of the earth. Therewith he plunged beneath the heaving deep. And she conceived and bare Pelias and Neleus, who both grew to be mighty men, servants of Zeus. Pelias dwelt in wide Iolcus, and was rich in flocks, and that other abode in sandy Pylos. And the queen of women bare yet other sons to Cretheus, even Aeson and Pheres, and Amphion, whose joy was in chariots. And after her I saw Antiope, daughter of Asopus, and her boast was that she had slept even in the arms of Zeus, and she bare 2 sons, Amphion and Zethus, who founded the first place of the 7-gated Thebes. And they made of it a fenced city, for they might not dwell in spacious Thebes unfenced, for all their valiancy. Okay, I was kind of joking yesterday when I said that Odysseus was gonna sit here and talk to all these women. I mean, it set that up, but I just assumed we would kind of hit the fast forward button and go through it a little faster. But these do seem to be women of prominence, mothers of very important people among the earth. Tyro, mother of Pelias and Neleus, being impregnated by one of the gods, taking disguise. That they love that trick, man. They just love that trick. We don't love to see it, but it happens. Same with Antiope, but she's birthing Zeus's offspring, and they go on, obviously, to create the fabled city of Thebes. I have this book. I need to read it, and you know what? Shame on me for not having read it before this far into the story, but it basically is an academic breakdown of women characters in both the Iliad and the Odyssey. I think maybe extends to all kind of Homeric poems, because this is such a I don't know. I don't have the framework to talk about it intelligently or with enough emotional intelligence. I acknowledge it though here that like this is showing women playing an important part about the creation of civilization. Women are birthing these men who would go on to found cities and become important warriors. But, like it's not great that Tyro is basically like super in love with nature. She loves this river, Enipeus, and Poseidon just decides to, co-opt that passion for a river into passion for himself. Definitely coercive behavior and limiting the female characters to simply mothering and nurturing roles. We can't expect an ancient text to have modern sensibilities. So that's where like my knowledge and context runs up against my ignorance. I would love to know more. I would love to know the different interpretations and lenses in which people have viewed this topic throughout the ages. I mean, it's got to be interesting and potentially controversial at times when we think about canonizing certain texts. A lot of things can ebb and flow. I like to look at like Gone with the Wind. Um, Incredibly popular when it came out, was kind of canonized early, both the book and the film. And once it's canonized, you just kind of can take it for granted that it's just part of the culture, part of, what we talk about when we talk about classics. But, when times change and you start to examine what's been canonized, then you can go, you know what? This maybe glorifies or represents certain things in a negative light. And maybe it's had its time in the sun and we step away from it for a minute. I'd be curious what the reputation of the Odyssey was during like the 60s and 70s with second wave feminism. Even now with Nolan's movie out, I do feel like there's a certain sense of, well, it's just that way because it's old and we don't need to question it. But, we can interpret these things and we can change them. I mean, Greek mythology was all about changing. There's nothing static about it. And, we're at a point now in 2026 where if you change something, like every iteration that existed before it still exists. So, whatever. I'm starting to get on my soapbox. I need to step down for a second. Let's root this back into the text and just point out a few things that are, I think, maybe worth, examining or cocking an eyebrow at, earmarking if we ever do look at this through a deeper lens. Tyro particularly is an interesting example here because while Odysseus is telling her story, the only voice he gives in her story is a voice of Poseidon. Zero dialogue given to her. That seems kind of interesting to me. What does that mean? How are we supposed to interpret that? If we are looking at this through a modern or revisionist or feminist lens, I don't know. And the only other thing I'll maybe mention here, I'm a little hesitant to do so, is just because I've mentioned it so much. But, if we're thinking about Odysseus telling the story to Alcinous, to the Phaeacians, you know, it's it feels like name dropping a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, like he's there asking for help to get home, and he's aware of his status among myths and legends already. I mean, he's crying at the song that uh is sung in the halls of Alcinous. He's heard the stories and songs sung of the battles at Troy. So I'm not going to prescribe a intention specifically, but I'll ask, what do we think his intentions could be? I mean, is this to fulfill the idea of the myth? Like he's trying to live up to his own myth? Is he name dropping to make him seem more impressive? Or is he just telling it like it is? I don't know. I don't want to keep hitting that point so hard, but it's hard to sidestep for me, at least sometimes. Okay, that's all I've got today. Join me here tomorrow with a little bit more of Book 11. Until then, okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.